My name is Rachel Parker. I work as a pediatric nurse at Advent Health Hospital in the suburbs of Orlando, Florida. I've been working at this hospital ever since I graduated from nursing school, going on 15 years now. Good morning, Nurse Rachel. When I enter the patients' rooms during my morning rounds, the children always greet me with bright smiles. Some wave their tiny hands when they spot my light brown hair. Being called Angel Nurse by the children helps ease my fatigue after the night shift. I work on a shift schedule. While alternating between day and night shifts can be challenging, after 15 years, my body has gotten used to it. Besides, I truly believe this is my calling. Seeing the children's smiles confirms that for me. Rachel, could you help train the new staff member again today? Such requests from the head nurse have become part of my daily routine. As an experienced nurse, training newcomers is an important part of my role. Watching their anxious expressions transform into confidence is one of the great joys of this job. After work, I head home to the Winter Park district in suburban Orlando. My house is a two-story single-family home surrounded by white picket fences in a quiet residential area. The 3 bedrooms might be a bit too spacious, but the time I spend in this house is my sanctuary. The rose garden in my yard holds a special place in my heart. Every holiday morning begins with tending to the roses. The sight of red, pink, and yellow blooms in full glory has become quite famous in the neighborhood. Sitting in the white rocking chair on my porch and enjoying the fragrance of the flowers is my moment of pure bliss. Brightening up my life is my beloved dog, Max, a 7-year-old golden retriever. Our morning and evening walks are an essential part of our daily routine, and he's quite popular with the neighborhood children. When Max spots children playing in the park and runs over to them with his tail wagging, I can't help but smile too. Rachel, are you ready for Sunday school? Another important part of my life is serving at St. Michael's Church during holidays. As a Sunday school teacher, I have the role of sharing Bible teachings with children. During Bible study sessions for kids, I strive to provide clear explanations as their leader. This year, I'm also serving on the Christmas pageant committee, and while the preparations keep me busy every day, it's something I truly enjoy. Looking forward to tomorrow's gardening club. Such greetings from my neighbor Mrs. Jones have become part of my daily life. At our monthly gardening club meetings, we exchange gardening knowledge with other members. Many people want to learn about my rose growing techniques, and I'm often asked for advice about horticultural therapy at local parenting groups. Your advice from the other day was really helpful. Hearing such words from mothers with young children makes me realize that my nursing experience is benefiting the community. Using my medical knowledge to address parenting concerns has become another important role for me. At the hospital, I'm known as a reliable senior nurse, and in the community as a dependable advisor. My days are filled with genuine fulfillment. The gratitude from patients and their families, trust from colleagues, and warm interactions with community members all enrich my life. After walking Max, it's my habit to sit in the porch rocking chair and watch the peaceful sunset. The roses swaying in the breeze, neighborhood children waving from beyond the fence, Max sleeping on my lap. I believe this tranquil daily life would continue forever. But that morning was different. I couldn't have imagined that my usual route home would dramatically change my life. January 7, 2025, 8 a.m. It seemed like any other winter morning. As I left the hospital, My colleague Sarah called out, "Get home safely." After completing a 12-hour night shift, all I could think about was getting home to rest. Night shifts in pediatrics are particularly demanding. Children's conditions can change rapidly, so we can't take our eyes off them for a moment. Tonight, we had been busy from 2 a.m. until dawn dealing with a 3-year-old's asthma attack. While Florida winters are relatively mild, this day felt chilly. As I started my car in the hospital parking lot, the dashboard thermometer showed 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually, I wouldn't bother checking the heater settings, but this morning I turned it up a bit. My body, which had been moving around the hospital for hours, was suddenly feeling the cold. Gripping the steering wheel of my Honda CR-V, I could feel my fatigue as I drove along my usual commute route. When the traffic light turned red at an intersection, I couldn't help but yawn. But home was close now. After taking Max for his morning walk, I could finally rest. That thought brought me some comfort. The morning news was playing on the car radio. The forecast predicted calm weather today, with temperatures rising over the weekend. I was planning to talk about my newly planted miniature roses at Saturday's gardening club meeting. As I entered the Winter Park district, the familiar quiet residential landscape spread before me. The maple-lined street, the white church spire gleaming in the morning sun, the newspaper delivery boy on his bicycle, these daily sights usually helped calm my mind. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted from the bakery on my right. Normally, I might stop for a muffin, but this morning I was too tired and drove past. Just 5 more minutes until home. That's when I noticed something was wrong. 2 police cars were parked in front of my house. The black and white Ford Interceptors seemed unnaturally bright in the morning sun. 4 uniformed officers were present, and several neighbors had gathered around them. The same neighbors I usually exchanged greetings with were now staring at my house with an unusually unsettled expression. What's going on? Trying to suppress my anxiety, I pulled over to the curb. I could see Mrs. Jones approaching from behind. Her usually warm smile was replaced with an unusually serious expression. Just yesterday, we had been enthusiastically discussing gardening, but now she seemed like a different person. As I got out of my car, a police officer approached. He was a tall man in his 40s. His badge glinted in the morning sun. "Are you Rachel Parker?" "Yes, I am." "Is something wrong?" I could feel my voice trembling. The officer's expression turned stern. I thought I saw a hint of sympathy in his eyes. "You're under arrest for suspected murder." Those words didn't feel real. I heard a ringing in my ears, and my vision blurred slightly. "Murder? What do you mean?" As I stood there confused, another officer approached. This one was a female officer with neatly arranged black hair and a serious expression. "The victim is your husband, Thomas Parker." "Husband?" "I." "The body of Thomas Parker, who went missing 3 years ago, has been discovered." Words caught in my throat. My mind went blank, and the surrounding sounds seemed to fade away. Through this haze, I felt the cold touch of metal on my wrists. It was the moment the handcuffs were being placed. The small clicking sound seemed to announce this surreal reality. There must be some mistake. As I started to say this, I heard Max barking from inside the house. It wasn't his usual cheerful bark. It was a sad, anxious sound, as if he understood the situation I was in. Max. The neighbor's stares felt piercing. Mrs. Jones covered her mouth with her hand, wearing an expression of disbelief. The Smith children were hiding behind their mother, staring at me. The gazes of people I had exchanged smiles with just yesterday now felt heavy. As I was being put into the police car, the sky seemed unusually blue. Through the back seat window, the familiar streetscape gradually receded. Schoolchildren on their way to class turned to look, their expressions shocked. Some were children I often waved to. But now, I couldn't even wave. The uniformed elementary school students stood still, watching the police car I was in. The police siren echoed through the morning streets. The sound seemed to signal the collapse of my peaceful daily life. With each turn at an intersection, familiar scenes flowed past one by one. The church spire, the supermarket, the park, places that had shaped my daily life now seemed to belong to a different world. Upon arriving at the Orlando police station, reporters had already gathered in front. Led by officers through the flashing cameras, I entered the building. Walking down the air-conditioned hallways, I was finally trying to understand the situation. The fluorescent light's sterile glow made everything feel even less real. "I'd like to request a lawyer." I finally managed to say this just before entering the interrogation room. The female officer gave a small nod. I thought I saw a hint of sympathy in her expression. "That's your right." The door opened, revealing a small interrogation room. 2 chairs at a table. A large mirror on the wall. Presumably being watched from the other side. I could see a camera installed in the corner of the room. I had no idea what was about to unfold. The heavy sound of the interrogation room door closing squeezed my heart. Under the fluorescent lights, the metal table and chairs gleamed coldly. The wall clock showed 9:15 a.m. Just over an hour since finishing my night shift. In that time, my life had transformed into something like a nightmare. "Mrs. Parker." The detective sat across from me. He appeared to be in his late 40s, with tired eyes. On the desk were a brown envelope and a laptop. The female officer from earlier stood beside him. In the silence broken only by the sound of the air conditioning, the interrogation began. "On January 15, 2022, 3 years ago, your husband Thomas Parker went missing." The detective's voice echoed in the quiet room. Memories of that day slowly came back. That morning, when I went to make Thomas's coffee as usual, the moment I realized he wasn't there. Yesterday, a body was discovered in the wetlands outside Orlando. DNA testing has confirmed it to be Thomas Parker. My hands were shaking. Though the handcuffs had been removed, I could still feel their phantom presence on my wrists. The air in the room suddenly felt heavy. Based on the condition of the body, we estimate he was killed shortly after his disappearance. The detective pulled photographs from the brown envelope. While I wasn't shown photos of the body, pictures of the discovery site were laid out on the table. The wetland mud. The area cordoned off with yellow tape. The investigators. None of it felt real. "Your hair was found on the body." Those words took my breath away. "That's natural, we were married." My voice sounded uncertain even to my own ears. The detective, maintaining his expressionless face, produced another photo. 2 weeks before the disappearance, you and your husband modified your life insurance policy. The coverage was increased from $500,000 to $3 million. Next, a copy of the insurance policy was shown. My signature was indeed there. But the circumstances at that time were different. Thomas had suddenly proposed reviewing the insurance. That was because my husband suddenly. Are you exercising your right to remain silent? The female officer cut in coldly. I swallowed my words. How could I explain? That day, Thomas had seemed strangely anxious. He brought the insurance documents, insisting I sign them immediately. 3 days before the disappearance, you withdrew $100,000 from your bank account. An ATM security camera image appeared. It clearly showed me. But there was an explanation for this too. Thomas had suddenly said he needed cash. That was because my husband told me. The words wouldn't come. My memories were becoming hazy. Why hadn't I questioned it at the time? The events from 3 years ago felt distant, like they were hidden behind a fog. The Johnson couple from next door have testified. They heard a heated argument between you and your husband the night before his disappearance. Fragments of memory from that time came back. Yes, there had been an argument. But it wasn't started by me. Thomas had suddenly become angry. Trying to remember made my head hurt. Through the window, I could see the police station courtyard. Several patrol cars were parked there. Officers walking back and forth. Scenes I would normally pass by without notice now seemed unnaturally vivid. And gradually, I was beginning to understand the gravity of my situation. The interrogation continued until noon. During that time, the same questions were repeated over and over. With each answer, my words felt more uncertain. It was as if there were large gaps between my memories. Thomas's behavior in those last few weeks now seemed strangely unnatural. This concludes today's interrogation. When I was finally released, my cell phone was filled with countless missed calls and messages. Most were from unknown numbers. New notifications kept arriving each time I opened the screen. When I left the police station, a crowd of reporters was waiting. Camera flashes, microphones thrust toward me. Reporters' questions flew at me like shouts. Their voices surrounded me like a swarm of bees. Mrs. Parker, what was your motive for killing your husband? Was the $3 million insurance money your goal? Is there a possibility you harmed hospital patients? Are the children in pediatrics safe? Each question stung my heart like a needle. My lawyer guided me to a police car, but the questions continued. From the car radio, local news was playing. A shocking case has come to light this morning. A trusted local nurse has been arrested for the murder of her husband who went missing 3 years ago. The victim's body. Opening the messages on my cell phone, I was hit with a storm of online abuse. Murderer nurse, devil in angel's disguise, hypocrite who endangered children. My familiar photo was being shared from account to account. It felt like my life was being torn apart online in an instant. And then, the email from the hospital. Its contents were as I had feared. You are hereby placed on administrative leave until further notice. That single line felt like a denial of my 15-year career. Messages from colleagues kept coming in. Most expressed disbelief. But some had a cold, distant tone. Years of trust seemed to be crumbling with an audible sound. I don't want her near my child. Such messages from patients' families too. It felt like everyone who had trusted me was suddenly distancing themselves. Everything I had built up as a nurse was collapsing like a castle made of sand. When I returned home, the neighborhood was already in chaos with media presence. A local TV station's van was parked in front of Mrs. Jones's house. There were no children playing in the yards, and an ominous atmosphere hung over the street. The people I had exchanged greetings with just yesterday were nowhere to be seen. Max looked at me anxiously. Even our usual walks wouldn't be normal anymore. Even the rose garden looked different from this morning. It felt like my peaceful daily life was crumbling away like a lie. Outside the window, camera flashes continued to light up. And in my mind, Thomas's puzzling behavior in those last few weeks was slowly beginning to take shape, like pieces of a puzzle. The truth came to light 2 weeks after my arrest. The reality was more shocking than imagined. The incident traced back to 3 years ago. Thomas had fallen into an affair with Ashley Bennett, whom he met at the upscale bar, Blue Moon. He had promised her, a young and attractive bartender, a dream future. A luxury apartment, brand items, an extravagant lifestyle. However, behind this lay massive gambling debts. His casino losses were mounting daily, and the pressure from loan sharks was intensifying. Cornered, Thomas conceived a plan for insurance fraud. Thomas's plan was meticulously detailed, my lawyer said, spreading out piles of documents. First, he took advantage of you being the life insurance beneficiary. He had the coverage increased from $500,000 to $3 million. Documents bearing my signature were shown one after another. Bank withdrawal records. Insurance policy changes. All had been part of Thomas's careful planning. He manipulated you skillfully. The insurance review, the bank withdrawals, all under the pretext of future investments. Then came his elopement with Ashley. He planned to fake his disappearance, have the insurance claimed, and start a new life with that money. However, the following 3 years were an unimaginable hell for Ashley. Thomas's true nature emerged soon after moving into the South Beach apartment. The documents contained Ashley's detailed testimony. It started with subtle control. Restrictions on going out, forbidden friendships, phone monitoring. Then gradually, the violence began. I became terrified of even the slightest sound, Ashley's testimony continued. Just hearing a door open would make me tremble. His mood would determine whether I'd face violence that day. He threatened to find and kill me if I tried to escape. I heard this almost daily. The debts kept growing. Thomas, trying to strike it rich through gambling, became increasingly desperate. The pressure from loan sharks intensified, and all that stress was directed at Ashley. Everything fell apart a week ago. Thomas had begun planning another insurance fraud scheme. This time, he was targeting Ashley's life. He had planned to take out a life insurance policy on her and stage her death as an accident. The frame-up against me was part of that plan. However, that night, the violence started again. The assault was more severe than usual. Ashley sensed that she would be killed. With the knife I had hidden for self-defense, it happened in an instant. In a panic, Ashley made the worst choice. Then she came up with the idea of pinning the crime on me. She disposed of Thomas's body near my house, creating a perfect cover-up. My lawyer showed new documents. The cover-up was remarkably thorough. It began with manipulating public opinion on social media. She created multiple anonymous accounts and gradually tarnished my reputation. The strange behavior of a nurse who lost her husband, abnormal attachment to children, baseless rumors were systematically spread. Next came the fabrication of physical evidence. She collected hair from my hairbrush stolen from my home and planted it on the body. She edited images cut from photos of Thomas and me from 3 years ago, creating and spreading pictures online that suggested suspicious relationships. She tried to create the perfect scapegoat. A reputable nurse. The wife of a missing husband. The insurance beneficiary. For Ashley, you were the ideal person to frame. However, this seemingly perfect plan had critical flaws. First, the wounds on the body were too fresh. Forensic analysis determined the time of death was just a week ago. Then there were contradictions in Ashley's testimony. Security cameras clearly showed Thomas and Ashley together on the day of the incident. Loan sharks provided testimony about recent transactions. And most decisively, the DNA testing of the body. Skin fragments from Ashley were found in scratch marks from the struggle. All evidence pointed to the truth. Mrs. Parker, your innocence has been proven. At those words, tears I had held back for so long finally flowed. The next day's newspapers carried bold headlines. Murderer nurse wrongly accused, real killer arrested. Tragedy born from 3 years of captivity. From insurance fraud to twisted frame-up. Ashley Bennett turned herself in and confessed to everything. She faces trial, but the possibility of self-defense due to domestic violence is being considered. 1 month later, on the day I was cleared to return to the hospital, the children in pediatrics welcomed me back. Welcome back, angel nurse. Holding a bouquet of roses, I responded, I'm home. Outside the window, Max was waiting, wagging his tail. The sunset sky seemed to herald the beginning of a new life. Truth can sometimes be cruel. But I believe that having the courage to accept and overcome it opens new paths. A year has passed since then. This morning too, I head out for our daily walk with Max. The dew-covered lawn gleams in the morning sun. The church bells ring 7 o'clock, echoing peacefully through the air. Good morning, Rachel. Mrs. Jones waves while watering her garden flowers. Her roses are blooming beautifully again this year. Throughout this past year, her gardening advice has helped me countless times. After the incident, my roses had withered completely. But with the help of my neighbors, I was able to plant new seedlings. Now white and pink roses bloom more beautifully than ever before. Rachel. As usual, children surround Max at the park. After the incident, I was afraid to interact with children for a while. But their innocent smiles helped heal my heart. Work at the hospital has also returned to normal. The children in pediatrics still call me Angel Nurse. With new junior staff members joining, I'm experiencing the joy of mentoring again. I continue teaching Sunday school as well. Sharing courage and hope through Bible teachings to overcome difficulties, these words now carry special weight. Ashley's trial has already concluded. She received a suspended sentence after self-defense was recognized. I hear she now works with an organization supporting domestic violence victims. I occasionally receive letters from her. I am truly sorry for trying to frame you for the crime. That's what her first letter said. I wrote back. You were a victim too. Let's both look forward and live our lives. Life sometimes presents us with unexpected trials. But I believe we become stronger by overcoming these challenges. Sitting in the white rocking chair on the porch, drinking my morning coffee, I look up at the sky. Max sleeps contentedly at my feet. The fragrance of roses drifts on the morning breeze. A new day is about to begin.